This is Look Up Radio, Kenya's #1 gospel radio.
I'm just here in studio saying about how we need to bring Betty Bayo here in this studio so that she can tell us her story. Anyway, that's a very lovely song. Karibuni sana, mmeamkia pande gani? Mnaamkia pande gani na mmekunywa nini? For those of you who are having tea and just watching me in the comfort of your sitting room and having tea and not bringing me even a slice of bread, ninawaona. All of you, I see you all. So thank you for tuning in studio with us today. We have Waweru Njenga. Waweru, karibu sana, Look Up Radio. This is The Morning Drift. My name is Liza Nyango, and what we do here, we just talk about the mind, the body, and the soul. And today we are talking about maybe the soul, because we're talking matters relationships. But meanwhile, tell us first, you're a life coach.
Yes.
What is the meaning of a life coach? What are you all about?
So a life coach is someone who comes alongside to help someone achieve their goals, make changes in life, maximize their potential, do whatever it is that they need to do to be the best version of themselves, basically. Yes.
Okay, so you do life coaching and you want people to have the best versions of themselves.
Right.
Examples, tupatie kwa mfano, ndo tusiongee kizungu mingi.
Well, so usually, what I tend to specialize, specifically is leadership. So it's helping sort of people navigate what it is to be a good leader, what it is to be a successful leader. You have innate abilities inside of you that a lot of times you have not discovered. And so I help people sort of begin to discover that. But I also help people sort of, some people get stuck. So you can sort of be in a new place or, doing a new role, and you're getting stuck, and you think, okay, I need somebody to help me. I have an idea of what I need to do. I just don't know how to go about it. And so a life coach comes alongside you, and what I do is I get on a journey with you. It's a creative journey. So we have conversations, we sit, we plan, we map out what it is that you want, and using some tools, some well-tested tools, tunakusaidia kusonga mbele.
Oh, okay. So and from what I'm getting, an example of a life coach is, for instance, I've checked into a new career and I want to thrive in it.
Yes.
Or what sections of leadership do you help somebody? Yeah.
So I mean, it's very, very varied. I mean, I tend to specialize in leadership because that's an area of passion for me. But generally, as a life coach, that's what I do. I use these tools to get you to your goals.
Okay.
And also maximize what your potential is. So you're new at your job and you have these crazy expectations from your boss.
Yes.
They said you have to deliver, or we're gonna chop off your head, literally. So and so I come alongside, and so people reach out to me and say, okay, so I need coaching.
Okay.
And it started about in the 80s, but it's taken off, maybe about 10, 15 years ago in Kenya.
Okay.
And usually it's around the corporate circles.
Okay.
But a lot of it, and I tend to do quite a bit in personal circles as well. People want to, have change in their lives and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So most people say, okay, so this is what's expected of me, but I'm afraid. I don't know. What should I do? And so I sit down with my clients and we talk through, okay, what are the objectives that you have? Can we map them out? What are your strengths? What do you need to look out for? So it's both creative, it's both very introspective, but also very energizing. So think of it as when you break your leg. And you need a crutch. And the crutch helps you to walk. It's you walking, but the crutch is propping you up to help you do that. And then you get on a journey of recovery, and you can walk on your own.
Okay. So from what you're saying is, we need you in this life because the changes that have come about, especially now shifting from 2020 and now we've moved to 2021, everybody has started something new.
Right.
Everyone seems to be also getting into either a new journey or facing a new challenge. So how are you coming in when it comes to that?
So I'll tell you, COVID was the best and the worst.
The best to you because you make more money.
Yes, but change is very scary for most people, and so people have been fired. People have lost incomes. Relationships have been under strain. You have to realize we were locked down. We were home. People are home for the longest time, and so jobs can be an escape also. So if a relationship, for example, the relationship is not working, as long as I'm not in your space, wacha niende nifanye kazi,
Uh-huh.
niondokee huyu mtu niko na yeye.
Eh.
Then you know the few hours I'm with them I can manage.
Sasa hakuna mahali pa kwenda,
Where are you
unashuka tu
going?
chini, unaota jua, unarudi.
Yeah, we're here in this together.
Uh-huh.
And so a lot of people then have, were like, okay, my relationship is in serious problems.
Mm-hmm.
I need help.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people reached out, and said, so, what do I do with my relationship? How do we navigate that? What do I do? I've lost my job. What do I do? I've
Okay.
started my business, or I've been promoted. Actually, a lot of people have been promoted, gotten new jobs.
Yeah.
Or they're
Or given many jobs at once,
Right.
so that people can save on costs.
Right.
Yes. Mhm.
So, people are like, okay, how do I manage this? And that's why I come in. And, through these tools and skills, really help people begin to thrive. So
Okay.
I have a bunch of very happy clients.
Okay. So you've talked about the word thrive.
Yeah.
And there's a group on Facebook called Thriving Couples.
Yes.
And that is where the whole discussion about today is coming in.
Okay.
Everybody is talking about, like, even when we introduced, we talked about how the word toxic and relationship right now in this generation of ours, they
Yeah.
go together.
Right.
First of all, we are wondering why. You have to tell us what is the meaning of this word toxic, but not at a meaning dictionary meaning, like what is a toxic relationship in essence,
Yeah.
and then why is it becoming rampant right now?
Yeah.
And even in so many groups right now, people are talking, it's not only toxic when it comes to two partners, it is toxic parents, mwingine amesema toxic mother, mwingine amesema I have a toxic father. Some people are even saying I have a toxic friend. So what
Yeah.
is this word toxic that people are relating to in terms of relationships? And then we break it down and ask ourselves, what's happening? In the news today, we have 2 stories
Yeah.
of crimes of passion. We have so many trending stories of crimes of passion. Watu wanauana tu. Yani saizi mkisha kosana, instead of sorting it ama kuachana, it is now becoming a situation where it's a killing.
Yeah.
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 So please explain to us, tuelewe ni nini kinaendelea
Umuuliza
kwa
maswali
dunia.
mingi.
Tuanze tu toxic. Toxic.
Toxic.
Tu,
So the word, toxic it's a chemical word. It's basically inamaanisha sumu. It means poison. And so a toxic relationship is basically an unhealthy relationship, which means it has elements in it that spoil it or make it not good for you or harmful. Basically, that's what it means. Harmful. The elements in there in the relationship that make it harmful. And the real danger in the way we understand relationships in this sense is people call it a toxic relationship, but really it's just toxic people.
Toxic people.
Yeah.
So what's a toxic person?
So toxic person again is somebody that has elements in them, that or behavior. They have behaviors that are inconsistent with what makes a relationship healthy. So, for example, they have certain qualities or characters that make it very a relationship very unhealthy and sometimes dangerous to the person who they're relating with. So that's what happens. There's all sorts of it. There's emotional abuse. There's physical abuse.
Oh, so it comes out in different forms.
It does. It does. But toxin is toxin. It's just it destroys the relationship. But then you have all these different manifestations. There's control and manipulation. There's emotional tyranny. There's sometimes neglect. When you talk about people with in relationship with their parents, there's neglect. Where parents neglect their children, where a husband neglects the wife, or wife neglects the husband. There's manipulation. There's physical and emotional violence. So it's a whole basket of issues that come as a result of toxicity.
Yeah. So maybe we can zero it down to maybe an example, because I know it's a big topic. So let's talk about partners,
Right.
because this is where the issue is coming in to be rampant. How does it get to a point where now partners start being toxic, or one person becomes toxic and even thinks about killing the other?
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to understand the nature of relationships. how relationships begin
Yes.
and how they progress,
Mm-hmm.
and then the problems that sort of crop up in a relationship. Usually you're attracted to someone for whatever reason.
Uh-huh.
So I see you, I like you, you know, you like me, and we begin to interact. My hope is, and everybody when they come into a relationship, we have this sort of picture,
Yeah.
expectations
Yeah.
in my mind.
Yeah.
And
Tall, dark, handsome.
yes, kind, caring,
Kind, caring. Has a lot of money.
exactly. Yeah, can take care of me.
Can take care of me. Uh-huh.
Hot and sexy,
Yes.
all that.
Yes.
And a lot of times, when we begin to relate with someone, what we're really trying is we're trying to mirror. So we're taking this image that we have of them, and then we're looking for it in them, right? Now, after some time, if we don't see it, we try and push them towards it.
Oh.
Right?
Okay. Okay.
So, if, for example, if I'm looking for a woman, okay, for a girl that you know I want her to be my girlfriend,
Are you looking?
uh,
Or are you taken?
unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Go on.
Okay. Yes. If you're looking, yes.
If I'm looking, so at some point there's things that I specifically want
Okay.
and I like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if I don't see them, then that brings dissatisfaction.
Okay.
Now there are different ways people act this out. Some people will kind of try and talk to you and say, okay, this is what I like, and so on and so on and so forth. Some people have social problems. It's just and so they're like, okay, I'm gonna make you do the things that I want.
Okay, is that what we call entitlement? Like you think you can just make somebody be whoever you want them to be, or what is that form of thinking?
Well, but there's some bit of entitlement there, but a lot of it is just what I want.
Okay.
Okay, it's just what I feel like I need, and yeah, you should be, if we're in a relationship, surely you should be able to provide that.
Of course, you should be the best version of yourself when
Right.
you're in a relationship with somebody else.
Right.
Okay, fine. Then how does it now get to be toxic? Now, how does it get to be on the other side?
So the problem is projection. So projection is me making you the source of what I need, right? So in a relationship, and I'm not coming in this relationship to make your life better. I'm only here for myself.
Oh, selfish.
Selfish. Okay. And so if I'm in it for what I want, and that's all, it's just me, this is really about me, then I'm going to do everything in my power to get what I want.
Okay.
And that's where problems begin to crop up. Most couples will tell you this: their first, the roughest years are from year 2 to about year 10, 12 there. And the classic example, of course, is the marriage. We talk about the marriage. You have the initial honeymoon stages of the relationship. People like each other, and then they begin to realize, oh wait, what I had in my mind and what I thought this person was going to give me, they can't give me. And so then they start to fight.
Okay.
Now, when then they start to disagree.
Uh-huh.
Now, when you start to disagree, it's why aren't you giving me what I want? So, because you're not giving it to me, I'm going to demand it. I'm going to ask for it. I'm going to manipulate. I'm going to lie and cheat. I'm going to do everything in my power to get it because I want it.
Okay.
Now, the problem is that I'm not just the only one doing it. My partner is also doing it. They're just doing it differently and to different intensities. And so, if I have a certain, you were talking about personality problems.
Yeah,
if I have certain personality problems,
Yes.
if I have an unmanaged or an ungoverned temper,
Yeah.
if I have a need to control, those things show up.
Oh.
And I'm going to use them because
Okay.
they're tools in my chest because they've worked before.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you a classic example. Children. The reason children cry and continue to cry is because they know if they cry, they're going to get what they want.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they break something, then they know they're going to get your attention. So we grow up with these habits into adulthood. And then we realize if I do such and such a thing, for example, if I yell at you, you are going to give me what I want. Then I'm going to yell.
Okay.
If I hit you and you want to listen to me, then I'm going to hit you because I want you to listen to me. And this is where the problems now start to crop up.
Okay, so you've talked about hitting, and now I want us to talk about what you mentioned before, domestic violence. Yes.
Yeah.
which is one of the most toxic relationships ever. Sindio,
Right.
you've explained to us how now people come to hitting,
Mm-hmm.
trying to prove or to fight for yourself in that relationship. But then why is it that people get into it and once it starts you're not able to leave? Because that's the begging question right now. Mtu anashinda akiuliza, anashinda akichapo, alichapwa jana bado yuko, amechapwa leo bado yuko. Why don't these people just get out? Or why is it that easy for people who are outside, who are not
Yeah.
in a domestic relationship, to see that this person is able to leave and they are not able to leave? Do you understand what I mean?
I understand. what
Yes,
you're saying.
yeah.
So before we get there, we have to understand the concept of boundaries.
Okay, concept of boundaries.
Yes.
Mhm.
Boundaries simply means it's a line that I've drawn in my own personal life that should not be crossed. Now, again, these are things that are taught when we were kids, and as we grow up and we learn to adapt them. That this is how I want to be treated,
Okay.
and this is how I do not want to be treated.
Yes. Yeah.
And I will not accept to be treated this way. And having that understanding then helps, because if you do not have boundaries, or if you haven't certain really established boundaries, and a lot
Yeah.
of people don't do this in relationships, then when the problems come, of course I'm going to be stuck. I'm going to be wondering, okay, so how much is too much? So they've yelled, they've kind of grabbed me by the throat, they've pushed me. How much is, you don't know where to draw the line. And so that's where the problem is. So now because you don't have boundaries, the real problem then comes in when those boundaries, supposed boundaries, we who are on the outside see them being violated. We're like, kwa nini so and so anakubali afanyiwe hizi mambo? Why can't they stand up for themselves? And then that now introduces a couple of reasons why a lot of people in relationships sort of tend to stay.
Okay.
And boundaries is basically one of them. But the fear, one of them is fear.
Fear.
Especially in long-term relationships, people are afraid.
Of what?
Well, if I leave, this person might come after me, especially if they're like a violent person. And in this case, and let me just also say this, that women tend to be on the receiving end of a lot of domestic violence.
Yes.
And if you look at it, a lot of them being in that situation means some of them look at it and think, okay, if this guy is really hitting me and hurting me, what stops him from hitting and hurting my family, people that I love? So they're afraid. Maybe he will hunt me down, or she will hunt me down, and inflict more harm. Maybe I cannot run. And so they're sort of caught up in a cocoon of fear. Another reason is poor self-worth.
Self-worth, self-esteem.
Self-esteem. Umetukanwa, umeambiwa wewe ni useless, hakuna mtu anaweza kukupenda, you're such a, look what I helped you, nobody can love you the way I do. And so like, they feel so like I am nothing without this person, nobody would love me. And so because of that low self-esteem, let me stay with this person who beats me, but at least
he
they accept
kesho tutacheka.
Atanikubali.
Yes. Kesho.
Yes.
Oh my God. So fear, boundaries, poor self-esteem.
Right. And those are real things. I mean, it's a it's like a real thing that people have. There's let me talk about women for a little bit. Women have a mothering instinct.
Yes.
It's probably one of the most powerful factors in a human existence. It's a powerful instinct. And it's what helps mothers nurture their children, take care of them, look out for them. But it can spill that nurture, that tendency to want to nurture, can spill into relationships and show up as a savior syndrome, a savior complex. And this is like he's being abusive, he's being toxic, but I'm going to love him
until he changes,
and I'll change him with my love. I'm gonna love him. Yani, I love him no matter what he does, and I know my love will change him. And you have 10-15 years of absolute abuse and
dying slowly inside.
Men do not change because they're babied into it.
Why do they change?
Men change because there's resistance.
Meaning
meaning there's got to be consequences
Mm-hmm.
to their actions.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. A basic example?
Cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
If you hit me, I leave. And I'm going to make it so hard for both of us, you're not going to want to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's why men change.
Yes.
So if you keep on staying, you're not doing any better.
No, you're not. In fact, tolerance is one of the worst things you can ever do. We're taught tolerance. And we're going to probably talk about this a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Because one of the reasons also people stay is because of religious beliefs.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You know.
Religious beliefs and the fact that tunaambiwa even our parents walikuwa wananyamaza tu kwa bedroom, but it
Yeah.
was not as easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
God hates divorce or
God
sort of
hates
separation
divorce.
like that.
Uh-huh.
And, you know,
Mm.
I have a big problem with that because
Mm.
when you have that,
Mm-hmm.
then people tolerate way too much.
Mm.
And the key to living a successful life where you're not constantly in problems
Mm-hmm.
is solving them when they're small.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I usually will say to couples,
Mm-hmm.
just learn to make a big deal when things are small.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay, so you know the example of the boiling a frog.
No.
Okay.
Please tell us about it.
Okay, so it's
Learn. I'm gonna take that. Learn to make a fuss when things are small.
when things are still small.
Uh-huh.
So the principle of boiling a frog, this is in biology, is if you take a pot of boiling water, you grab a frog and throw it in there, the frog will jump out because the water is
Yes.
hot.
Yeah.
However, if you take a frog and throw him into cold water, and you put it on a stove and turn on the heat, you literally will boil the frog.
Yes,
The frog
yes.
will not jump out. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's slowly. You're doing it progressively. You're heating the water progressively. And a lot of relationships go bad like that because we're sort of just sitting there thinking, yeah, let me. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. And by the time you're realizing it, somebody's dead
Yeah.
or somebody's maimed.
Yes.
The damage is way too much.
Oh. Okay, I think I'll interject a little bit and catch up with what you're saying, which is very insightful. And if you're tuning in, this is the Morning Drift, and we are talking matters relationships. And today we are addressing toxic relationships, and if tunasema how unhealthy is unhealthy and how bad does it get, and what should you do based on the different aspects of your relationship to your partner specifically, as much as we will talk about relationships in general with parents and your family and everybody. And we are telling you, have you signed the register hapo chini 20374? We need to know, where are you listening in from? What kind of relationship do you have? What questions do you have for our guest? And he's a life coach, and he's doing quite well in his line, which he will talk to us about later on. His name is Waweru Njenga. Waweru, karibu sana. So Waweru, even as we continue, Beth Wasipalma anasema I'm tuned in and I'm following. Alice Muthiore is saying I'm tuned in and I'm following. And I'd like for you to ask your questions, because this is all about what you'd like to find out. Me, I'm just here to learn and to be the spearheader and to ask a lot of questions, which I'm asking on your behalf. So Cynthia Carey is asking, how can someone know that they are in a toxic relationship? And maybe I can do a follow-up question based on that. How do you know it is toxic? Ama ni kukosana ya kawaida? Because we were not all created in the same house.
Right.
Even our sisters, we used to live in the same house.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that tukikosana it was toxic. By the way, we used to fight when we were young, and maybe fight with words or maybe physically, ile kidogo na tunachapwa.
Right.
But do we say it is toxic ama tuseme ni kukosana kidogo? And I think that's why Cynthia is asking, how can I tell I'm in a toxic relationship?
Right.
Yeah.
So you can't tell you're in a toxic relationship if you don't know what a good relationship is.
Oh, so you don't know bad until you talk about good.
Right.
Let's talk about a good relationship.
Exactly.
Lakini not a perfect one, ile tudanganye watu tupakane mafuta hapa.
There's no perfect relationship, really. You work at your relationship. But they're just basic things in a relationship that should be there. And that you should expect. And I think that's a big thing, right? That people are not you should have expectations.
Okay.
Of course you should.
Yes.
So, you want there to be honesty, that you're honest with each other. You tell each other the truth, about, what you want, how how you're feeling, what your thoughts are. you also want there to be trust, and trust is a big one. Is that I can trust you. I can trust you with my life, my secrets, my weaknesses. You know, you want somebody that you can trust.
Yeah.
If you do not feel like you can trust someone, that's not the right to marry. That's not the time to marry or commit to that person in a relationship. Okay, you want to establish some level of trust. You want to have good communication, and good communication means it doesn't mean that you know one person gets to speak and the other one gets to listen, but you both speak, and you're heard, and they speak, and you hear them. Okay, so you're communicating, and you're communicating in ways that you're understood. Your needs are, your needs are kind of out there, and they are progressively working towards meeting your needs. Even as you've expressed them and communicated to them. There's another factor of good relationships that's rarely spoken about, and that's value.
Value.
Yes.
Let's talk about value.
So,
what do you bring to the table?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes. And not me. I have a problem with Kenyan relationship.
Able to ambie.
Because of that.
And then tell us also if your relationship is Kenyan based, or you're just saying that because you flew to the other side of the world. Ulivuka border.
Well, you know what? We have such a, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure where historically that comes from. It's probably just some of the things we've
gotten used
and
to.
we've adapted. Is so when you ask people what are they looking for in a relationship, or what they bring into a relationship, a lot of people really it's very basic, and it's like, okay, I'm a nice person, I'm a humble person, or I'm bringing money, or some things like that. But is that the value that I'm looking for when I'm going to a relationship? That's the question I want to ask. In some sense, I like to challenge women and ladies in relationships. I'm bringing my beauty, and I'm bringing sex, but there's another 5 billion beautiful people on the planet.
Okay.
There's another, so many millions of people that can provide the sex. So you've got to really think, like, what value are you bringing? How good is my life? How are you improving my life? How is being with you an upgrade? It should be an upgrade. Which is why everyone, if you're going to get into a relationship, you have to add value. You have to be a valuable person. You have to, you have to bring skills to the table. You have to bring abilities to the table. You have to bring a great personality. You have to be someone who adds value to someone else's life. Other than that, then it becomes like, okay, we'll get to a place where we'll start wondering, why am I in a relationship with you exactly?
Okay, so when you talk about value, let's talk about the current trend that you're talking about in Kenya. But even before I ask that, Beth Wasipalma is asking, is it possible to change a toxic relationship? I think we'll talk about that as we continue, because we're still talking about healthy.
Right.
You can't know bad until you've been to good.
Right.
And you can't know good until you've been to bad as well.
Right.
It goes hand in hand. So maybe allow me to ask, let's talk about the money factor.
Yeah.
And Kenyans have this all memes of mtu wako ni wa nitumie kakitu ama sa utadu, and then kuna hiyo ya kukula fair.
Right.
Like we've based relationships on the fact that the man is the one to provide finances.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the woman is the one to provide all other aspects like cooking and everything. Do you agree? Or when you talk about value, what do you mean? Is it a money factor or is it a beauty factor? Like, where is the gap?
So that's a big thing because value cannot just be money. Because you'll get, and in life, anybody in any long-term relationship will tell you, you get money and you lose money.
You get money, you lose money.
Yeah. So money is not quite it. It's one of the things that you should be able to bring to the table. But it's not just the only. It's not just the only element. To me, I think the value someone brings is an ability to set goals together and say and being able to achieve those goals together. So you're talking about a person's abilities to come around a common vision, a common mission. What are we doing in our relationship? Because think about it. If you're going to be in a long-term relationship, a lot of the things you're going to be doing are sort of like projects together.
Yeah.
you're going to raise children.
Yes.
You cannot be successful if you can't do it together.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to communicate, do it together. You're going to have, you're going to invest. You have to be able to do it together. You have to have some sort of skills that, bring value in that sense. You have to be able, you work here, you're a presenter, an MC. So that's something of value. It's a gift you have. So, for example, if we have an event, and we're looking, okay, so who's the best that we're gonna look for you?
Yeah.
Why? That's value that you bring, and so on and so forth. Your education, your skills, your both the physical skills you have to work and create to earn a living, but also to manage and navigate life.
Okay.
There's times in your relationship the money cannot do anything. I just need you to listen to me.
Yeah.
And if you can't listen to me and understand me and support me, then I don't care how much money you bring to the table. At that moment, that's what my need is. And so at that moment, that's your value. And so helping people understand that is extremely important.
Okay.
That, when our world is changing. So when and I think that in some sense, when a woman just delegates herself to purely being, a domestic manager, I feel like that's underutilizing their value.
Hey, I think now you've hit a point which can be a topic of discussion. Do you guys agree? Do you agree that women and men should work concurrently in that household? Lakini who's gonna cook for you? Ama
So-
utakula chakula imepikwa na mtu mwingine?
You can cook, but here's the other thing that I say. If me and you being in a relationship, if cooking is an issue, what we have is not a role problem. We
Okay.
have a vision problem.
Oh, okay.
Because if I'm looking at you, na ile kitu ya maana naona kwa maisha yangu ni kunipikia ama kunioshea vyombo. Okay, me I have a problem with that. Because I have a daughter. I'm not raising her. I'm putting her through education.
Yes.
For her most important value be
Cooking.
you can hire somebody to do that.
Okay, or you can multitask, like divide the roles. Eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. She has, and this is something that I think girls have to embrace. If you increase your value, you attract your value. Okay.
Okay.
So if all you can do is simple and basic home management, which everybody should be able to do, including guys. A guy should be able. This is the other thing. A guy should be able to do those basic home, cook, take care of the home. So when a woman shows up in your life, na dem anajisikia na wewe, you're like, okay, what are you bringing to the table? Nitakupikia, nitakuoshea. I can do those. What else? Okay. And what you're doing is you're pushing, una improve level ya value ya wale watu wako kwa maisha yako. You're improving that, and that's what we want, right? So we're not stuck on things that and in another maybe 20-30 years, all those jobs will be taken up by machines. Have you thought about that?
Even cooking, yes.
Right. I mean, so the question will always remain, okay, so what do you bring to the table? So improve yourself, grow yourself as a person, take courses, adopt new skills, change your mind, travel, just invest in yourself as a person.
Okay.
That you feel, I deserve better.
Okay.
It's a fact that people who, when we improve our own value, we actually improve our own standards of how we expect others to treat us.
Okay. So we are talking matters value, and we are talking matters knowing the good in a relationship, or getting yourself to be not the toxic one in the relationship. So Waweru is here in studio with us, and he's saying it has to start from you.
Right.
Charity begins at home, right? Do you guys agree? There are so many things Waweru is saying, and I think it's going to be an issue of contention, especially pale Twitter. So if you increase your value as a woman, you attract your value, even as a man.
Yeah.
So women should not only cook. You need to build into your value. Do you guys agree? Or do you think this is not the society you're brought into? Na Waweru ametravel sana, amepanda ndege sana, akarudi hapa kutuambia vitu zingine. Please, the SMS line is 20374. Waweru, we have a lot of questions from people about toxic partners and toxic relationships. And even somebody is asking, how do I know I'm not only dating a toxic person, I'm dating a narcissist? I think we'll address all these questions when we come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll just take a very short break so that we can gather at least and adjust to what we are hearing. So we are talking matters toxic relationships. But then Waweru Njenga is a life coach, and he's saying you cannot talk about the bad without knowing the good. Do you guys agree? This is all about you. Tell us. Let's dissect this topic and let's get to the bottom of it and also understand ourselves as well. So short break. We'll be back. Sinach, I know who I am, and it is just a coincidence that we are talking about relationships, and we're asking, do you know who you are in your relationship? Do you have your projections? Do you have your boundaries? Do you know what it means to be in a healthy relationship, and do you know what it means to be in a toxic relationship? Welcome back. It is the Morning Drift. My name is Liz Anyango. The SMS line is 20374. Maswali zinakuja mingi. Welcome, Waweru Njenga.
Thanks.
I think relationships is a topic which we cannot avoid, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
So before we went on break, we had Beth Wasipalma who was asking, is it possible to change a toxic relationship or a toxic person, or change your relationship from being toxic to being healthy? Possible? Kwa sababu pia hatupendi kuanza fresh. We don't like starting afresh. And I think even more reason why you're saying people stay in toxic relationships is starting afresh can be a bit challenging to most people. So is it possible to change from one toxic relationship to make it healthy?
So my answer to that is it doesn't matter. And the reason I say that is because if someone is toxic, then it must never be. It's dangerous ground when I'm trying to make it my mission to detoxify you, because that's where problems occur. Okay, so toxic people need to get help. So if somebody is narcissistic, if somebody is violent, if somebody is neglects you in a relationship, somebody is harmful, has addictions and things like that are harmful for the relationship. Your goal is not to try and change them. The goal in all relationships is to always make yourself a better version of yourself. Okay.
That's it. So you're saying leaving is the only option?
No, I'm not saying it's the only option, but I'm saying it should be. If the initiative to change, you have to draw the line and say, okay, so we can't have this in our relationship.
Okay.
Here ikubaliki. This is not acceptable. And so if there is not going to be improvement, then I will gladly exit myself from the relationship. The reason is because while it's painful in the short term, it's the best for you in the long term. If you stay, what's the incentive for them to change? That's the question. Now, if for example, if they're like, okay, hey, I'm not, I recognize my propensities to be, a bad person or to be toxic, I'm going to get help. Yes. Then you come alongside and say, I'm going to support you 100%. You have to support them because they're getting help. However, if on the other hand they're not, or they sort of turn around and make this about you, then you really want to consider what you're doing in that relationship and how useful it is for you to stay in that relationship. So I tell people in toxic relationships, you have to cause.
Ujiite mkutano, no umuite mkutano.
Yeah. There has to be, you have to create a scenario of where people are taking it seriously, that they're either behaving wrongly, and it's not acceptable.
And it's not accepted.
And the key is to start when these things are at the beginning. People in successful relationships fuss a lot about small things. This is something that's also not said a lot. People if you want to be in a successful relationship, you have to learn to fuss about problems when they're small.
Not build a mountain.
Not wait for the thing until it's huge. I mean, in my career, in my pastoral career, talking to couples and working through couples, by the time a lot of couples show up for therapy or they're reaching out, it's like they're on each other's neck. They're about to kill each other. You're going back to damage and things that have been done, 7, 8, 10, 12 years. And that you cannot do that. You cannot undo that in one weekend. You cannot undo that in 1 year even. And so the way to avoid that is to, get on top of it right when it happens. That's why, when you have a disagreement, when something happens in the relationship that upsets you, most couples do one of the worst things, which is they give each other silent treatment for a
Oh
couple of
yes,
weeks.
let's talk about that because
Okay.
I think it's also panning out. In fact, I've thrown that on Twitter so that people can start shouting at you.
Yeah.
People in successful relationships fuss a lot,
Yeah.
but then wouldn't the fights be a lot? And then there are these people, especially men,
Uh-huh.
who now check into that box. You know
Yeah.
that quiet box where now you're not talking, and that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Silent treatment. So how do you discern between the two? Like, we need to understand where you're coming from with that powerful statement.
Well, you have to create time to talk. So, silent treatment is not. Again, that's something else. We're saying, okay, so what does that mean? We're not going to accept that. We're going to need to create time to talk. And the best way is to carve time. So there are certain. And maybe this is where we talk about things that couples, like basics of any relationship, especially romantic relationships, which is what really we're focusing on this morning, is create couple time. Have time where both of you go and talk about yourselves and other things, but it's actually time that you dedicate to yourselves. Most people call it a date night.
Yeah, go out for dates.
Yeah,
Yes.
once a week. Go out, zungumza, sort things out. Love on each other. Sometimes you're not always going out to solve problems. Sometimes it's just to have a good time.
Yeah.
When you have a problem, how do we tackle it? How do we solve this problem? Have a way of dealing with it. These are communication tools that you want to have. You don't, for example, if you have a disagreement, don't do it when you're tired or when you're hungry or when you're upset. Have specific time. Say, okay, so we had a bit of a tiff in the morning. We'll talk in the evening. Come back. Put the kids away. Let's sort this. Always talk about issues when they're fresh.
Always talk about issues when they're fresh.
When they're fresh, yeah. Bring them up, even if not to resolve them, but bring them up. Let the other person know this is an issue for me, and I would like us to solve it. The problem with if you keep piling it, that's what I was talking about. It piles, and that's when people burst. They like somebody goes nuts, and you're thinking, what happened? Why did so and so lash out like that? You look back, they've been piling stuff for months and weeks and sometimes years. So the day they reach the breaking point, they snap. So to avoid that, always you always bring things up. And the truth is, you're going to have a lot of small differences. But what happens is over time, your relationship begins to soften because you're getting on the same page. Please realize that when you have differences with your partner, what you're trying to do is you're trying to synchronize. Do you understand? So they have a script and you have a script.
Yes.
So a disagreement is you trying to match the scripts together. So every time you have a disagreement and then you come together to find common ground, that's what you're doing, is you're synchronizing. And over time, you're now able to read from each other's script. Like, okay, so I know her and she knows me, and we're able to work on our relationship and enjoy a much better relationship. So that's how it,
Okay, then there's this aspect of, first of all, remember the SMS portal is 20374, and we're just talking healthy relationships. And there's somebody who's asking a question which is very vital. So Josephine is saying, I tend to just keep being in toxic relationships, one after the other. So what does this mean? What does this mean for me? Is it me who's choosing these partners, or are they the ones who are attracted to me? Then there are those people who have this soft personality, which I think I can ask as a follow-up question for Josephine. There's that person who's very soft, and sometimes you just say, let this problem slide.
Yeah.
Then it slides and then slides into another relationship and you let it slide. So how can you advise such a person?
Let me tell you. There's this thing of we talk about people who are nice and soft and they don't like to fight.
Yes, exactly.
And they're meek. Let me tell you the problem with that, especially people who act that way when their basic boundaries are violated. That's not a sign of goodness. A lot of times it goes inward. If you're violated and you're not expressing it out, it goes inward and sits there as resentment. Okay. The reason you speak up when somebody violates your what you feel is your space and your
Mm-hmm.
rights,
Mm-hmm.
is because if it continues,
Mm-hmm.
that pain goes inward,
Mm-hmm.
and it sits there, and you begin to resent this
Mhm.
person.
Okay.
So if I do not, this is what I say: do your partner a favor,
Mm-hmm.
argue with them,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you disagree with them, please disagree,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to save the relationship, and it's going to save you from being a bitter,
Mhm.
angry, resentful person.
Mhm.
That's why you say you get it out,
Mhm.
so it's understood.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't,
Mm.
then it piles and piles, and that's the other thing, is that the silent treatment thing,
Mhm.
which people soak in and soak in and soak in. And let me tell you,
Mhm.
a lot of the outbursts you get
Mhm.
are as a result of that, because all that anger and that energy needs an outlet.
Okay. Okay.
So some people, they will do something drastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people will pick up habits. Some people are sick. Your body just can't take it.
Yeah.
You know, you find people are getting stressed, high blood pressure.
Uh-huh.
Stress. You know, people lashing out. You know, on the roads. People are just angry.
Okay.
You're wondering, why are you angry?
Okay.
They have pent up stuff that they should have gotten out, but they haven't.
Okay.
And so when you disagree with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
and you're able to express it, you do them a favor, and you do yourself a favor. You save your relationship from toxicity.
Oh, okay.
You save yourself from being bitter.
Yeah.
You save yourself from being...
Is that the reason why people say marriage is work?
Yes.
You keep working.
Yes, you have to.
Uh-huh.
In the assumption that you walk in that mnapendana mapenzi is going to keep you is nonsense. Mapenzi does not sustain you.
Uh-huh.
Skills do.
Skills do.
Yeah, I don't care how much you love me. We're gonna get to a place where we're gonna say, okay, I agree. You love me and I love you, but can we work through this? And if we're unable to work through that, if we do not have the right skills to work through that,
Yeah.
shida tupu.
Shida tupu.
It's gonna be a big, big problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the challenge, I think. That understanding that is very, very important.
Okay.
That we you know, relationships work. You do not tolerate much. There's something to be said about tolerance. You know, and I know we are taught. you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
Vumilia.
Vumilia.
me
Wazazi
tell you,
wetu walivumilia. Uh-huh.
You vumilia until you die.
Eh,
Somebody lashes out at you.
yeah.
It's a problem.
Yes.
Make it a problem.
Make it a problem.
It's like a big problem. Like it's such a big. Why are you making such a big problem? Because it is. Because it's a door. You've opened the door.
Yes.
Every person that's physically abused will always tell you they know when it started.
The first slap.
Yes. When it happened,
And you accepted it.
you're like, you will never slap me again. Or you will never do this to me again. You know? And so they do it again.
Okay.
And they threaten.
Okay.
And
So I totally understand, and now you've jumped into domestic violence, something that is now becoming rampant. And Cynthia is asking still the same question, which I think maybe you'll address in a different manner. Why is it that people who are in a domestic relationship find it hard to leave? It's because of what you're saying now.
Yeah.
You accepted the first slap,
Yeah.
and then you're expecting him to love you more,
yeah.
and he's expecting to keep on doing it.
Yeah. But also people hope that somebody will change.
Oh yeah, there's the factor of ata change. Alisema ata nchapa tena.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They'll change. Or they'll grow up, they're just being a boy, or she's an angry woman, she came from a very, angry background. Or they were abused somewhat. You make some story to allow that.
Okay.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
So now you become the problem, because what you're doing is you're enabling it. Listen, people, you have to stop normalizing drama. Okay? I don't care how much you love a person.
Yeah.
Stop normalizing drama.
What do
is
you mean
not
by drama?
normal. Is stuff like that. Somebody does something, umechapwa, somebody's neglected you, somebody's used you and abused you, and you're like, you know what? Sometimes it's happened. We are just young.
It's life.
It's life, you know.
Hakuna
Ni
mtu akona
kuvumilia.
maisha rahisi.
Let me tell you, the people are enjoying very happy relationships. But they have a very low tolerance for nonsense. That's how you do it. You teach people how to treat you.
Yeah. You teach people how to treat you.
Yes. Yes. I mean, you watch it in children. You teach you teach your children how to respond to you.
Yes.
So I usually laugh at this because one of the things my mom taught us, she was tough as nails, was you respond the first time I call you. If you do not respond the first time I call you, it's going to be a problem.
And you respond by yes. See at
And you respond by, ours was actually, twofold. You say yes and you show up.
And you show up.
And she did not take anything less than that. Now, let me tell you, how many times do you think we violated that rule?
True.
It just happened once.
Yeah.
The consequences were so real. I was like, why are you like this? But then we learn quickly. Okay, we learn quickly.
Yeah.
And so we teach people how to respond to us. We teach people how to talk to us. If somebody comes and yells at you, then you don't have to yell back. You just have to say to them, excuse me, please do not yell at me.
I don't appreciate that.
I do not appreciate that. And if you cannot treat me respectfully, I will withdraw myself from that situation.
Okay.
It's amazing how many people are in relationships they have no business being in. And sometimes, okay, this might be controversial, sometimes leaving a relationship is the best thing you can do for yourself and that other person who's toxic. Because then they can find help. And if they're not going to find help,
they'll take it to
let
someone
them take
else,
it to somebody
and
else.
let someone else remove themselves.
Yes. But don't let it be you. And so that's important to understand that, and it's a life principle really when you think about it. If your business is going wrong, you fuss about those things when they're small.
Yeah,
okay?
true. Yeah.
If your books of accounts are not looking good, and KRA are starting to knock at your door, you'll fix it.
Yeah, true.
If you wait another 2-3 years, you're going to be in some serious problems that you cannot get out of.
True.
That's this. You look at it, your physical body, when you start feeling a certain way, then you have to take care of it. Watch your diet, go work out, do something. If you're feeling sick, you don't sit until you're about to die, then you go to the hospital. You go immediately, and you're able to catch problems. And it's exactly the same way with relationships. Is we've learned tolerance, and it really allows toxicity to exist. Now, the reason you don't tolerate it is because when you don't tolerate it, you begin to be very proactive about finding solutions. So if we have an anger issue in our relationship, can we go to counseling?
Yeah.
Can we go to therapy? Okay, this is not good. This is not helpful. I know if we have addiction in our relationship, this is not good. Okay, now I'm going to help you, I'm going to support you, but I can only do that if we are getting help. If we're not getting help, let's not lie to ourselves that someday through some magic, something is going to happen.
Miracles don't happen in relationships. Hata uombeaje.
Mimi ni pastor, but nakwambia tu kweli.
It can't work.
It takes work.
It takes work.
It takes work.
Okay. So, Pastor, when you said Pastor, let me refer to you as Pastor Wa.
Yes.
Pastor Wa, let's talk about relationships and spirituality.
Yeah.
Let's bring the whole spiritual aspect into it.
Right.
One partner is very prayerful. The other partner is not in that line. Like, basically, how can you merge the two? Religion is it's like crossing the road. It is somebody's prerogative. Relationships and spirituality, like, how do the two merge?
I have different views.
Please share.
From what people normally tend to say. I think you should be able to agree on core things when it comes to religion. I think it's important.
Okay.
I don't think it's the ultimate thing. I don't think it can make or break a relationship, but I do think it's important. However, the idea that somebody has to be at the same spiritual level as you for your relationship to work is not true.
Okay.
And the reason is because
sikuna hiyo, like, you have to understand where I'm coming from. A guy is dating you and they tell you, you're not in church, mi naenda kutafuta dem kwa church. Does that mean we are church ndo ita work? That's what I'm basically getting towards.
That's the point. And that's the point I'm referring to. That, listen, some people wameenda kanisani and they found the devil's cousin there.
Okay. Yes.
You might be thinking you're marrying someone in church just because you found her in church. Doesn't mean that she's a saint. Okay. And just because you met him singing in the choir doesn't mean he's gonna make the best husband. By the way, being a successful person in a relationship is not a product of just your spiritual experiences. It's tools that you have. It's skills. It's relationship skills you have. People, if you do not have relationship skills, I don't care how hard you pray.
Able talk to us about relationship skills. I'm feeling like you need to start a coaching session for us, and I hope my boss is watching.
I'm gonna have to
I hope
bill
my
you.
boss is watching so that we can bring in the life coach to teach us how to be good employees and to stick to work and not have issues at work and not have things that are drifting us from here to there.
Yeah.
Yes, please tell us about the skills in relationships. Even the basic ones that you just need to come with them. I've heard the way you've said we have to establish boundaries.
Yes.
Fast about the small things. Yani
Right.
uko tu na jam kama Mwarabu kila saa
Right.
until it gets to a point where you can't fast about it. What more skills can we bring into a
A
relationship?
whole bunch. Communication.
Communication.
How to talk to each other. You want to deal with handling money. What do we do with money? You want to talk about sex. You know, that's a big, thing for most couples. You want to talk about raising children. You want to talk about in-laws and outlaws. You want to talk about, planning and, achieving goals together, teamwork. You want to learn about conflict resolution. I mean, there's like a bag of tools that you need. Now, please hear me. This is important for you to know. These are the tools you need to be successful in a relationship. You may not be a spiritual person, but if you have these tools, your relationship
Good communication
will
skills,
work.
know how to handle money.
Yes. Yes.
Hakuna kukula fare.
You're just an honest person. You show up.
You show up.
When you say you show up, you
Yes,
show up. You keep your word.
Mm-hmm.
You become a trustworthy person. You learn how to support somebody else. Cheer somebody else. Let somebody else win. Know how to negotiate, how to compromise, and things like that. If you have those skills, and here's there's somebody said if you want to hide something from Africans, put it in a book. Eh?
Yes, ama kukiwa na vitendo kajifiche kwa library hautapatikana.
Right.
Yes.
The point is, we really look down, in some sense, on the pursuit of knowledge.
Yeah.
And in a sense, not just knowledge. I mean, books. We read books.
We read
in terms
books.
for education. But I'm just talking about life skills, like investing in life skills, like paying money to go and learn communication tools.
Okay.
Like, okay, we're gonna take a 12-week course on communication, and for 12 weeks, I understand I am horrible at communicating, and it's hurting our relationship. Okay, there's this course that's being taught on communication in relationships or in marriage. I need 10,000.
Okay.
So, this 10,000 we're going to go and do something fun next weekend. Guess what we're gonna do? We're not gonna do that something fun. We're gonna invest it.
Okay.
Okay, in this class.
Okay.
And this is what it's gonna help us.
Okay.
Okay, so you begin to find tools. There are a lot of courses now online on finance, money management in relationships.
Yes. Yeah.
Our church does that all the time.
Yeah, in fact, we even had discussion about financial management the other time on the morning drift, but we didn't factor in relationships. But maybe even on the money aspect, even before you continue, I hope you don't lose your train of thought.
Right.
Let's talk about money and relationships, and let's talk about where money is prevalent towards one person, especially where it's the lady who has money and the guy doesn't bring as much to the table, or the other way around. The man has a lot of money and the lady is still growing towards the relationship. Yes. How do we interject the two?
We Africans know very little about money. Money is a new concept to us.
True.
And part of it is also because it's tied to power.
Yeah.
So the person that has the money has more power. And so it's so important for couples to, again, another tool, another skill that they need to develop is how do we then navigate this? In any true relationship, I'll tell you for a fact,
Okay.
you will have ups and downs.
Okay.
He might be having money now, but a time will come when he will not have money.
Then what will happen?
And she will have money.
Yeah.
If you don't have the tools, then it becomes such a rocky place for the relationship. you know, men have a sense. Men want to be ultimately providers, and I do say that for a reason. Not only it's not just an ego thing, but it's also actually how we are wired. We take great pleasure in sort of being able to do that. The same way women sort of find fulfillment in nurturing kids. We find fulfillment in providing. But understanding the skills to balance it, that when we're not able to do that effectively, when he's not able to earn effectively, how does he manage? How do you deal with your emotional state that you don't come in and something happens and you feel like you've been disrespected? You know what I'm saying? How do you rise about, how do you check your ego so you're useful to the family? You know, how do you navigate those things? And a lot of us were not taught, we're not prepared. Our parents really didn't know much how to pass those information to us. So I say to couples, invest in knowledge. I tell people, invest in coaching. Get a coach. You know, there are couples who call and say, okay, can you talk to us through our finances? So we'll sit down and we'll walk through the finances. You know, can you talk to us through our children? How do we manage our children, our home? We talk through that. A lot of this also has to happen, especially guys who are thinking of committing to long-term relationships, like marriage. Have premarital counseling. You know,
premarital,
and that's the time to ask all the questions. To look out all the skills, to talk to the people with the skills. Is our relationship going to work? What do we need? Yani unajitayarisha, because ukiingia kwa hiyo vita a relationship,
marriage
now you don't have the tools, my friend. You can pray all you want, but you know, prayer will not talk to your wife. It's you to talk to your wife.
It's you to talk to your wife.
You understand?
So, Waweru, what you're telling us basically is the word toxic and relationships is coming about because, first of all, we are not learning. We are not learning how to deal with in relationships, in all forms of relationship. And second of all, we are not investing in knowledge. So is that the reason why our parents kept their marriages? And for right now, I'm not going to talk about the rate of divorce in the country or even in the world, but I'll talk about the rate of how people are rampant in complaining. Let me tell you, if you check how toxic has been used even on just Facebook, you'll see it's a big thing. There's toxic and then there's now narcissist. So do you think even maybe sometimes I could be the problem and I'm calling the other person a narcissist, yet even I don't have the relationship skills? Do you think that it's a problem?
It is. We have to define what's a healthy relationship. Everybody has to do that, and we have to agree on what it is. So part of some form of premarital or relationship course is helping us define that, so that when it's not going the way it should, we know there's a problem. Okay, so we have like some form of blueprint we're following, instead of guesswork. The other thing is also that you know, we're quite, in our interactions, we're quite a bit violent. And so the people tend to lash out a lot because, and a part of it is also because we're not quite skilled in how to navigate this. So, you know, when you feel like you're not being heard, you know, life is hard, there are financial pressures, kuna stress, then this other person is adding on to the stress. We're not unable to isolate that clearly. And so people really go after each other. And there's a myth, and I think it's a myth to me when I talk to friends, my friends who are my age, that our parents had it easier.
Yes, there's the myth.
That's a myth.
Not even a myth. We see it. Like most of our parents stuck together. You know, like I was talking to a single mother, and I think one of these Sundays we need to address that in the morning drift. We need to talk about single parenthood. I have a friend who was telling me the other day, she has a 10-year-old son, and even right now in that classroom, she's the only single mother in that classroom. You know, and her baby boy always comes home with one shoe not tied, because one shoe is supposed to be tied by the father. And it kept on happening and happening. So it goes to show there are many families that are close together. Also, something we were talking about on the morning drift, if you guys can remember, there's the society, the way the society is expecting you to adjust. And this is the now begging question. Are you better off being single and happy, or being in a relationship where you're not making things work? You know. So we need to talk about that. Start with our mothers, stuck together.
Yeah.
And then now we build into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that I think they had lots of problems. When I look back now, my own parents, and I talk to my friends who are my age, it's like, wait a minute, our parents really had a lot of problems, but they were good at hiding them
Okay.
from us. Because the parents, we feel we need to protect our children
Yes.
from our problems.
Yeah.
And also you have to realize they didn't have a cause of respite. So they didn't know, okay, so what do we do? We really, the only way is we have kids and we have to make things work. Which also explains why people stay in toxic relationships.
Okay.
It's because they're children. And so you're asking me to leave, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
My son or my daughter needs their dad. They need their mom. You know, leaving is not just quite an easy option. And so you have, you know, when we look at our parents, they figured out between the pressure from society, pressure from church, make it work. They stayed in it, and they just barely just survived through it. Very few of them had the courage to up and leave in those relationships. And so, I think that, you know, the single parent crisis, and it is a crisis, it is a tragic situation, and I mean, I don't know what the answer is right up front. I mean, I do have some ideas in terms of how we can deal with it. I think a lot of it has to do with you know, sort of thinking through, if we're going to have a child, you know, if you're in a relationship with someone and you're going to have a child, then you want to decide, okay, so you know, this is what we want. Okay, this is what we want. This is the plan. This is how this plan is going to work out. I think through it, and don't just have a kid just for the sake of it. But have a plan. Think through. Okay. Think through that. And that becomes a very, very useful part of the relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Pastor Wa, nitakuita
Yes.
Pastor Wa ama nikuite tu Waweru Njenga, and you'll tell us about your journey in the ministry and what you talk about in ministry.
Yeah.
But Wangari is asking a very vital question,
Okay.
and even this one I think you need to address. So you guys are talking about toxic relationships. I'm not even in a relationship. Start by teaching me how to get into a relationship. So let's talk about how to now identify a partner. It's valid.
Wow.
It's very valid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How to identify a partner.
Yes, or identify an ideal partner.
Yeah.
Yes. Ama ndatafuta wapi mtu mpoa niende church
It
ama
depends.
niende wapi?
It's women who ask this question
It's
mostly.
women. Yes.
But it depends. Again, is what are you looking for? You know, what do you want? Do you want a long-term relationship? You know, and you have to establish that up front. I think the number one, it's extremely vital, is if you're going to be in a relationship with someone, make sure it's a friend. You can
Make
be
sure it's a friend.
Yes.
Make sure it's a friend.
Make sure you're friends.
Please expound on that.
Well,
Make sure you're friends, meaning you've met, become friends first before you get into a relationship, or what do you mean?
yes. But also you have certain factors that allow you to relate with them easily and conveniently, and it's something that you enjoy. You're enjoying being in a relationship with them.
Okay.
The reason is because...
Na kama mmepatana na nyinyi si marafiki, mwanze na urafiki.
Yeah, build on that, or at least make sure that you can be friends with this person.
Okay.
The reason is, and you know there are people who don't click. They will say, I to click.
Atupatani.
Yeah. So getting married will not make you click.
Okay.
It's the other way around. So make sure that some things are clicking. And part of it is this. Sometimes you can have great chemistry.
Okay.
Like the romance. The romance is motto. Is hot. But you guys are completely outside of that setting. You can't just do anything.
Okay.
It's like we don't have a relationship. That's a red flag.
That's a red flag.
And the reason is, my friend, long-term relationships are about 5% sex.
Okay.
The rest 95% is doing life together. Think about it.
Okay.
Think about it for a moment.
Okay.
You get married, right?
Yes. Okay.
What happens? You do the wedding, the big thingy. Fantastic. We're happy. We kula cake. Then we put you in a moti. You drive off to your honeymoon.
Tupige picha, alafu tuweke hizo picha kwa ukuta.
Then you go for your honeymoon, right? When you come back from the honeymoon is great. It's like 100% romance and love making and all that. When you come back, what happens?
You come back to reality. The honeymoon is over. Now you start living together.
You're living together.
Yeah.
Going to work, paying bills, having children, taking them to school,
Yeah.
driving to work, back home,
Okay.
going to see in-laws, coming back home, parents get sick, you treat them, you know, life.
Challenges, check-in.
Life. If you can't do this with this person, if you're gonna have some amazing time, you know, at night kitandani, lakini huku kwingine mazee ni bure kabisa, my friend, don't get into a long-term relationship with them, because that's what life is.
Okay.
That's what it is. You're basically sharing space with somebody.
Okay.
They better be your friend.
They better be your friends.
Yes.
Aya, sasa to address history ya Wangari, atatafutaje mtu ama wapi, or identifying a partner.
Okay, there's a concept here that I say. I don't know how old she is. I would
Okay.
ask her how old she is.
She's
And-
sent it via our SMS portal.
Okay.
But let's just assume
Yeah.
she's single
Okay.
and searching.
Right.
Where is the ideal place to search?
Okay.
Can she date somebody at the workplace? Let me act on your behalf, Wangari, because you sent an SMS. But still, remember the SMS line is 20374. Keep sending the SMSs. So let's identify places where you can get somebody who you can be in a relationship with,
Yeah.
just on her behalf.
Most people, of course, you have to be out in the socials where the gatherings are.
Yeah.
Church is a huge place. That
Church
people
is a
meet.
huge place.
Clubs, and I'm not talking clubbing, you know, hanye, but
Yeah,
you know,
the
like social clubs,
Golf
things-
clubs. Yeah.
golf clubs, you know, there's like, you know, I don't know, a biking club, a swimming club, something like that, some social engagement, being involved in that. Some people meet people in class, school, so if you're in school, you meet people there. Work,
Work. Okay.
if you FaceTime a lot with people, so some people, you know, like you meet a lot of people.
Yes. Yes.
So that's, you know, that's an opportunity for you to meet people in your neighborhood. There's all sorts of places. However, men do not marry up the social ladder naturally.
Okay. Meaning in English, simple terms.
Natumia kizungu mingi.
Kizungu iko mingi, lakini tutaenda tu tuki break down.
So if you're a woman, the sort of man who will be attracted and get into a relationship with you will be a man who will probably be financially or socially, in terms of just their status, in terms of what they do, who they are, will be slightly higher than you. Okay.
Okay.
And the reason is that men have a need to provide leadership
Okay.
in the relationship.
Okay.
So usually, if and this explains the dilemma, and you know, maybe just to reference to her.
Yeah.
If you're a single, older, very successful woman,
Yeah.
the pool of men to marry is very small.
Okay.
So you have to know where to hang out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Women will rarely marry below their social status.
Yeah. True.
They
True.
always look for a man because they want a man they can look up to.
Yeah,
They want a man
yeah.
who can provide leadership,
Yeah.
a man who can take care
Advice,
of them,
yeah.
advise, you know, a man who knows his way around. They have a need to be protected, a man who can protect them. So you want to hang around those spaces where those men can be found.
So let's start with understanding this. So you're saying if you're a woman and you're at this level, you look for a man who's at this level.
Yes.
It can't
Yes.
pan out.
If you're a
Hakuna
woman,
ile tulianza life pamoja. Do you guys agree? Hakuna ati kwanza maisha pamoja.
it's tricky. And I'll tell you for a fact. I mean, if a woman is a CEO, the man she's going to end up with is going to be a CEO or a CEO.
CFO.
Or CE, yeah, it's going to be a C-level person. Or they're going to have that status in life. You know, that's where it's at. So if they hang around, and I got in trouble for saying I used to run this Facebook live event on relationships.
On relationships, okay.
And one of the things is somebody asked, our church is small. I go to church, I don't see anyone at our church. I said, move your church.
Oh my God! And you got into trouble.
I got in trouble because somebody
Yes, of
said,
course,
"You're
yeah.
telling us to move church for ati." So
Men.
we meet men to marry, and I said yes.
Or rather rotate. Enda huku Sunday,
Yeah.
enda huku Sunday.
I said meet as many people
as possible.
So that's again some advice for her is you have to meet as many potential men as possible. Many, not a few.
Many.
Wengi.
Meeting, it's just meeting and getting to
Meet
know
and
them.
engage them.
Don't guys, don't think we're telling you to be promiscuous of that sort. It's just getting to know people, networking. Let's call it networking.
Yeah, but it's also sad that for me also that even our concept of meeting, especially in a religious context, when tell people meet different people, people start to think, oh, why are you telling me that?
Yeah.
Or you're telling me to be promiscuous. No, I'm just saying increase your bandwidth of exposure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want somebody to notice you and take an interest in you, be out there, be willing to meet and engage people, be in spaces where those people are. If you're not, taomba.
Utaomba. I think it's getting hot in here and we are learning a lot, and also we are getting to understand what we're dealing with. But let me ask you, from where you're seated, have you sent an SMS to 20374? Do you have a question for Waweru? Do you think you have a pending pondering question on matters toxic relationships? And this is what Waweru is telling us. He is a life coach certified. By the way, we'll talk about your CV when we come back.
All right.
So you can break it down to us and tell us, even for those who are in career and would like to be life coaches, how do they deal?
Okay.
And then there are those who'd like to reach on you personally.
Okay.
Kuna wale unajua hapa kwa mtandao hawatasema kitu.
Right.
Mtu anasema tu, now I've focused, like we talk about different issues in the show The Morning Drift.
Yeah.
We talked about creating a vision board and brought in Buvale to tell us about that. We talked financial matters and did a crash course on centonomy and how to handle your matter.
Brilliant.
But then we are realizing we also don't balance our relationships.
Right.
And this is what you're saying. It's a balance among all those factors combined.
Yeah.
So when we come back, we need to know, how do we get to Waweru? How cheap or expensive is Waweru? Or how accessible is he? Or where does he go to church? Ndo akitoka hivi nje ya church nimsimamishe hapo nje, nimwambia nipatie ka pro bono kind of talk, and then maybe I can have him coach him. And did you know that your life needs coaching? Did you guys know that? I'm just getting to learn that right now. Like, it's called intentional living, yeah?
Yes.
You're living with intent.
Right.
Hakuna kubahatisha kwa hii dunia.
No, you can't.
You can't.
Anybody who's performed very well in life will tell you they had to get coaching.
They had to get coaching.
Yeah, I've had to get coaching
Okay.
to be good at what, and I was very good at what I did.
Wow, and you seem to be very good at what you do.
Yeah.
So, Waweru, we have to take a short break. But before that, there's this thing I've realized, guys, and it's getting to me. I don't know if it's getting to you as well. Have you realized Kenyans are becoming very creative at memes? The memes that Kenyans, we are creating. If you're watching from all over the world, I have a friend called Wallace who's watching from America. Kenyans have become very creative, and on Twitter they are trending. And this is what we are asking you. Please be sending us those two trends on 20374, and then we'll be reading it out. So somebody sent me this today, and I've already sent to you, Waweru, as well.
All right.
But maybe I'll also play it on the screen so that we can see it. Yes.
Yeah.
So that we can see it.
From Nairobi to the world. This is Look Up Radio. Now playing your all-time hits. From Nairobi.
So there we are. From everybody who's watching. Can you guys see that? So this is a tweet that was trending yesterday, and I'd like for Waweru to read it out for us, tafadhali.
All right. So Senator Millicent Omanga says, any kind of robbery is not good, but daylight muggings in Nairobi mezidi. National Police Service Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, fanyeni kitu bana. And Tekla, ish, that called there. Says Nairobi ni ukae kama gangster. Nilienda kwa neighbor kuwatch news, nikapata hiyo TV ni yangu. Kutaka kutoa simu nipigie polisi, nikakumbuka simu ni yake, nikatulia tu.
Like, seriously speaking, Waweru, Nairobi imekuwa shamba la mawe. TV ni yake lakini simu ni ya huyu mwingine. Honestly, that's very creative. So guys, we need your special memes. Ile yenye unaona imeweza. Leo that answer, like questions well answered. That one has wizard, and we like that. So we'll take a very short break. When we come back, Waweru will tell us about life coaching.
Yes.
And wind this up and tell us how we can reach you and how we can be intentional about our life. In fact, I think for this particular show, I will come up a motivational speaker because I'm taking in a lot of information every day. We are all about the mind, body, and soul. And there are things we didn't find out or realize. Like, did you know that even checking into a relationship, you need skills? You know the way your boss tells you, where is your degree?
Yeah.
How many years of experience do you have? So that is what it is when it comes to relationships. Okay, so Waweru, sign us off.
Yeah.
You can sign us off. Like, let me teach you how to
Teach me
broadcast. So guys, we're taking a short break.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you a recap of what I've talked about, and then I'll sign out.
All right. So thank you for hanging out with us. We're going to take a short break. Here talking about relationships, toxic, healthy, and otherwise. My name is Waweru Njanga.
Oh, nice.
See you after the break.